Today, let's talk about the biggest coincidences in history. Let's start off with Booth and Lincoln. In 1864, Booth and Lincoln crossed paths. And no, not that Booth and Lincoln. Robert Todd Lincoln was at Jersey City Station when he slipped and fell in the space in between the platform and the train. He was surely done for, but Edwin Booth pulls him up and saves his life. Only a year later, Edwin Booth's older brother finds Robert Todd Lincoln's father in a movie theater and assassinates him. More of that to come. The Hoover Dam. This was a massive project that took 13 years to complete, and it was very dangerous. Dozens and dozens of people died from various construction accidents and mishaps along the way. The first person to die building the Hoover Dam was J.G. Tirby in 1922 on December 20th. The last man to die building the Hoover Dam was Patrick W. Tirby, his son, in 1935 on December 20th. Mark Twain and Halley's Comet. Halley's Comet is an asteroid only visible to Earth every 76 years. Last seen in 1986, by the way. In 1835, it was visible from Earth. And that same year, the legendary author Mark Twain was born. 76 years later, in 1910, Mark Twain dies as soon as Halley's Comet returned. He even predicted his death right before it showed up, saying that he came into the world with Halley's Comet and he expected to leave with it. The Nebraska church explosion. It's March 1st, 1950, and the West Side Baptist Church in Beatrice, Nebraska has a natural gas leak during choir practice, and the church explodes. However, there were no casualties because every single choir member that day happened to be running late. I don't know if this is divine protection, insane luck, or insurance fraud. The cursed passenger. Violet Jessup was on board the Britannic, which sank in 1916, on board the Olympia, which collided with a British warship and sank in 1911, and the Titanic. If you were on board a ship with Violet Jessup in the 1910s, she's gonna make it home, but might not be the same for you. The ultimate survivor. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was on a business trip in 1945 in Hiroshima, Japan. And well, you know what happened next. He survives with severe burns and ruptured eardrums, but somehow 3 days later, he's on the grind again. He's back at work, this time in Nagasaki, Japan. And well, you know what happens next. However, he survives this atomic bomb as well, and he doesn't receive any new injuries, but he makes those previous ones a lot worse. Both times, he was 3 kilometers away from where the bombs dropped. Adolf Hitler and Napoleon Bonaparte. Hitler was born 129 years after Napoleon. He rose to power 129 years after Napoleon. He invaded Russia 129 years after Napoleon, and he was ultimately caught and defeated 129 years after Napoleon. The Civil War's full circle. The Civil War officially kicked off with the Battle of Bull Run on William McLean's farm in Manassas, Virginia. Now, after all that bloodshed and decimation, William McLean left his farm. He relocated with his wife to Appomattox, Virginia, a safer area. 4 years later, the Civil War ends just a few feet away from William McLean's new estate when Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse. World War I's Dark Coincidence. 17-year-old John Parr and 30-year-old George Edwin Ellison both died in World War I. John was the first casualty recorded in the war, and George was the last. Somehow, they are buried in the same graveyard, 15 feet apart, facing each other. The accidental cure is 1928, and scientist Alexander Fleming returns to his lab after a 2-week vacation. He notices he accidentally left a petri dish out containing bacteria. The petri dish had started to mold, but right before Fleming threw it away, he noticed something very strange. There was a clear ring around the bacteria where it stopped growing and was being destroyed. Fleming had discovered what is now known as penicillin, which treats pneumonia, cellulitis, scarlet fever, meningitis, and a host of other afflictions. Lincoln and Kennedy. Some of you may have known this was coming. There are several strange coincidences between Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. Both were elected exactly 100 years apart. Both were assassinated 100 years apart. Both of the assassins were born 100 years apart. After their assassinations, Lincoln and Kennedy were succeeded by men named Johnson, who were born 100 years apart. Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy, and Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln. Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater, and Kennedy was shot in a Ford Lincoln. Lincoln was shot in a theater, and his assassin was caught in a warehouse. Kennedy was shot from a warehouse, and his assassin was caught in a theater. Both assassins were killed before they could stand trial. Now, if that ain't a big coinkydink, I don't know what is. It's been Law and Order. I appreciate you watching to the very end. And since you did, you might as well hit that subscribe button. But I'll catch you on the next video. Yeah, dig.